Scott just made the point.
Thomas
Jefferson
Jefferson, you'll
seems to
read
be a lot more secure, not just.
Hollywood star Adam Baldwin left Twitter on Monday, giving the social media giant a massive middle finger salute on his way out the door. Today you'll learn why. Hi everybody, I'm Steve Green, and this is a special three-part trifecta on the future of privacy, of free speech, and the free press, seen through the lens of three wildly different stories. In part one, we looked at the future of your right to privacy as Apple fights the FBI over strong encryption. In part three, we'll look at just how free our free press really is. But today, it's free speech online as Twitter wages war against its users and against its shareholders. With me for that, of course, your trifecta stalwarts, Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. Gentlemen, last week, conservative journalist and author Stacey McCain was banned from Twitter, although the company refused to say exactly why. Stacey switched to his other account, which he'd created to promote his latest book a while back. Then Twitter suspended that account over the weekend, again with no explanation. But we might just know the reason. A few weeks ago, Twitter announced its Trust and Safety Council, which sounds, well, a little bit like the French Revolution's Committee on Public Safety, which, of course, used to silence its critics with the guillotine. Anyway, Twitter's Safety Council consists of nothing, literally nothing, but left-wing groups with, let's just say, iffy records on free speech. One member is Gamergate-fighting feminist Anita Sarkeesian, who is no fan of Stacey McCain. They've had numerous public run-ins. And as Robert Trzynski wrote in The Federalist on Monday, it sure looks like the moment Twitter gave Sarkeesian the power to do so, she started blackballing her critics. Now, Adam Baldwin, you probably know him as star of The Last Ship, Chuck, Full Metal Jacket, Firefly, and easily my favorite villain on Angel. He deleted his entire Twitter timeline in support of Stacey, except for one last tweet linking to that Robert Trzynski column, abandoning nearly 250,000 followers and taking all of his content with him. Bill, I'm just an online acquaintance of Adam's, but you two, I understand, are pretty close. Did he do the right thing? Do you think you'll follow him out the door?
This is a tough one. Look, I think without question he did the right thing as far as his own conscience is concerned and as far as his statement is concerned. And in general, I agree with him completely. I know Adam relatively well. By the way, the interesting thing about Adam Baldwin, I met him, I don't know, 2008, I guess. And he always plays these machine gunning idiots. You know, I mean, he's always the big, tough, stupid guy. But he is, without question, the most well-read person I've ever met. He will tell you who the Federalist Papers went to when they were doing their research. You know, I mean, he's an astonishingly smart, incredibly well-read guy. He's the exact antithesis of most of the characters he plays. So I have mixed feelings about this. First of all, I have no mixed feelings about what Adam did. I mean, he had an enormous amount of followers, huge amount of followers. He's a real presence on Twitter, and he just walked out, and that's fine. And the more people do this, the lower their stock is going to go. As you know, the Twitter stock is just tanking and continues to tank. My only concern about this was something that I had some thoughts about, and then just before we taped today, I saw Steve Cruiser here, and as you know, Steve Cruiser has a huge Twitter following. And I asked him if he was going to leave along with everybody else, and he said, no, I think that's what they want us to do. He said, I'm going to just keep poking him in the eye until I get banned. There's something to be said for that. You know, as much as I admire Adam's stand on this, and it's a principled stand, and I don't question it or disagree with it, on some level, this is what the fascists want, right? This is what these liberal fascists want, is they want to control all the speech. And so if they're going to shadow ban you and if they're going to, shut down your account, that's one thing. But if they get all the conservatives to shut down their own accounts, it's kind of mission accomplished as far as they're concerned. The flip side of this argument is if everybody who's a conservative leaves and everybody goes with them, and Twitter has a reputation for being this giant little jackbooted pit of political correctness, then their stock is going to continue to tank. Somebody's going to come up with an alternative, and, we'll go there.
I can hardly wait to jump ship, but I'm going to take Cruiser's advice. I'm going to wait till they kick me off. It might not be long now. The justification for Twitter's Star Chamber is to make people feel safe about expressing themselves, but that safety only seems to go in one direction. Accounts like Kill Donald Trump are still active, and Twitter sat idly by last year when director Joss Whedon, creator of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and an outspoken feminist himself, he was hounded off Twitter by other feminists like Sarkeesian for not being feminist enough. British author, actor, and comedian Stephen Fry also left out of frustration, completely deleting his account. That's what his page looks like now, because left-wing groups, and Fry's a lefty himself, they wouldn't let him be funny anymore, not without hounding him to death. And now we've got something called shadow banning. Twitter hasn't admitted this, but users are noticing that other users' tweets aren't showing up in their timelines or in search results anymore. People like author Larry Correia, who also left Twitter on Monday, Iowa hawk Dave Burge, who I believe is the funniest man on the internet, and maybe even me. I've had several followers tell me my tweets have stopped showing up for them. So apparently Twitter is silently silencing us, removing conservatives and libertarians from the public timeline without word or explanation. All of this done in secret. Scott, is that any way to run a social media platform which was built, ostensibly anyway, to promote engagement and free speech?
Well, you know, this is kind of mystifying because this new leftist tactic of simply cutting off somebody's Twitter account or shadow banning them and keeping their tweets from being seen by other people in their timelines doesn't sound nearly as fun as the old-fashioned method of getting a mob together and hounding someone off Twitter. I mean, that was a lot more fun and interactive and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. I guess maybe we should see it. Those of us on the right should see it as a positive sign, because I guess the whole hounding thing wasn't working out as well as they would have liked. And so now they've got to do a new method, which is simply to pull the plug. I'm not sure how they make this distinction. The letter I saw that was allegedly from Twitter to Robert Stacey McCain said that it was because of particular abuse. I think the word particular was in there, like he was targeting
directed, I think it was.
Individual, yeah. And so we still don't know exactly why this has happened, but the stuff you see on Twitter, holy cow, I think he has a First Amendment case here, and he ought to bring it. He ought to basically say, look, if you're going to apply these rules, fine, apply them to everybody. And if not, who owns the internet anyway? I mean, doesn't the government own that? Shouldn't the government own the internet? Shouldn't the government enforce the First Amendment?
I never thought of that. Sue them. Sue them. Yes, of course, sue them. Sue them and sue them and sue them. And there must be any number of conservative attorneys who would take this case. It's a clear First Amendment violation. Sue them. And even if you lose, the publicity is worth it. Damage the brand. You know, make them change their management. Their stock has gone down to a quarter of what it used to be. Let's drive it down to a tenth of what it used to be. Sue them, make it public, run the publicity machine, call them out, and fight.
Yeah, just don't sue them and expect to get any money, because Twitter doesn't have any anymore. Look, folks, Twitter is a private company. If CEO Jack Dorsey wants to turn control of his platform over to the Orwellian Trust and Safety Council, well, I guess that's his right. Although a quick look at their share price shows, as Bill and Scott both intimated, that investors think he's out of his progressive mind. Now, Facebook, on the other side, is hugely profitable, but I don't spend much time there because, as we've known for years, Facebook also manipulates its users' timelines. I don't have a whole lot of use for that. So is it too much to ask when we have this amazing tool to work with, this incredible invention called the internet? Is it too much to ask for a place where anyone can say anything to anyone else without fear of banishment or shadow banning or timeline manipulation? Now, I'm a content creator, not a platform builder, so I'm not going to create this thing myself, but I will go to whoever builds the freest and funnest social media platform yet. I don't know what or where that is, but I hope if we ever do find it, all of you on the right and the left will join me there. Yeah, I'll see you there, I hope. Stay tuned for part 3 as Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton take on the free press. But that one is for members only, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button. For Scott Ott and Bill Whittle, I'm Steve Green.